Hello everyone, I'm Lauro. Today we're going to talk about a type of crab. This crab has a particularly flamboyant color, bright red, just like it's already cooked, and the bigger they are, the more vibrant they become. Moreover, unlike most crabs that walk sideways, these crabs walk however they want. They can walk forward, backward, or even perform lightweight skill by walking on water, literally walking on the water's surface, which is quite unbelievable. In addition, these crabs are particularly fierce. Have you ever seen a crab that hops around like a frog? Well, this one can do it, and its jumping ability is quite amazing. It's hard to imagine a crab doing such a thing. It's truly incredible. Moreover, these crabs have a friend that you might recognize. It's the Galapagos marine iguana, which we've discussed before, known as the animal that most resembles Godzilla on Earth. They have a very close relationship with the iguana. They are not just neighbors, but also friends. So when you hear this, you might already know where these crabs are from. They are from the Galapagos Islands and are called red rock crabs. These crabs originate from tropical regions, found on rocky coasts of Central and South America. They are present along the Pacific and Atlantic coasts, but their most famous origin is the Galapagos Islands. If you ever have the chance to travel, besides the famous Galapagos tortoises and iguanas, you can also check out the red rock crabs, and they're quite easy to find because their color is so bright. They stand out sharply against the black rocks, making them very easy to spot. Moreover, unlike other crabs that always hide in rock crevices, these crabs prefer to stay out in the open on the rocks. So, there's a bit of a trick to this. As you know, crabs generally occupy a role in the food chain. They are more of a food source, right? So they usually seek some sort of protective camouflage, but these red rock crabs are so bold and flamboyant. It's quite surprising. Of course, there are defensive strategies in nature based on bright and bold colors. It's commonly known as warning coloration. For example, the most typical is the South American poison dart frog, which is never lost in the game of vibrant colors. We've also discussed this before. For example, lionfish and some brightly colored pufferfish, like the dart frogs, they all share one thing in common: they're poisonous. This seems to be an unspoken rule in nature. Any species with particularly bright colors is not to be messed with. However, when it comes to red rock crabs, these guys have no toxins at all. They're completely safe to eat. They don't fit the warning coloration at all. This is quite puzzling. So, what's the story behind their appearance? It all starts when they are young. In fact, when red rock crabs are young, they're not flashy at all. They're born in the sea, feeding on plankton for a while, shedding a few times before coming ashore. When they first land, they are almost entirely black, blending perfectly with the rocks. This is a classic example of protective coloration, providing excellent camouflage. After a few more molts and some growth, they only start to show a slight red tint, and they are covered in white spots. It even seems like they are a completely different species from the adult red rock crabs. The difference is that stark. As they grow larger and molt more, their color gradually turns red, and the white spots on their body gradually disappear. When they reach adulthood, they turn completely red, and the more mature the crab, the brighter the red color becomes. Eventually, just being red isn't enough to express their inner restlessness, so they develop bright yellow or blue accents. In short, they become as flashy as possible. The idea of protective coloration is long forgotten. It's a complete contrast to their dull appearance during their youth. So what causes them to become more flamboyant as they grow? Scientists say it's all because they have the ability to back it up. Young red rock crabs, once they've mastered their agility, no longer need to keep a low profile. Red rock crabs belong to the family Grapsidae in the order Decapoda. Their English name is Sally Lightfoot crab. It's said that they were named after a dancer to describe their light and graceful movements. This description is quite fitting because they often walk on their toes, raising their bodies high, as if they were dancing on their tiptoes. And the leg muscles of red rock crabs. Their crab leg meat are very strong. Their explosive power is immense, so their reaction speed is extremely fast. When an enemy attacks, they can instantly jump away, dodging the attack. It's as if they can predict the enemy's moves. They are that swift. There's a passage that captures this point perfectly. In the previous Red Squid episode, we mentioned the 1962 Nobel Prize in Literature winner, John Steinbeck. He and biologist Ed Ricketts embarked on a sea adventure and wrote a book called The Log from the Sea of Cortez. In this book, Steinbeck describes the red rock crabs. He said these crabs, seemingly able to escape in any direction in an instant. No matter which direction your net swings from, they can dodge it. If you move slowly, they move slowly. If you speed up, they speed up. If you pounce, you only end up with a scratch, and you'll be left cursing in frustration. In other words, their agile movements are more than enough to fool predators. Protective coloration isn't really necessary, so naturally, attracting mates through appearance becomes more important. As we mentioned earlier, the more mature the red rock crab, the brighter its color. This bright color signals to potential mates that they are experienced. Moreover, their body color also reflects their nutritional status. A pure color indicates they are well nourished and have strong foraging abilities. In addition, such a high-profile red color might also have another meaning. It says, "I'm so conspicuous, so flamboyant, yet I haven't been eaten. This means my physical fitness and ability to evade predators are top-notch, and my genes are strong." So the more vibrant red rock crabs are the most sought after. That's the reason. Alright, as the saying goes, a loud sound is easy to dodge, but a hidden arrow is hard to avoid. In a previous episode, we talked about the coconut crab from the family Coenobuttidae. Although not a true crab, once they come ashore, they become the largest terrestrial arthropods. Just like the red rock crabs we're discussing today, they lay their eggs in the sea. The young crabs live in the sea for a while before coming ashore. The difference is, once coconut crabs reach the shore, they move inland, away from the coast, and actually become afraid of water. Staying in water too long can even drown them. As for red rock crabs, they still forage along the coast, and their breathing heavily depends on water. They mainly live in tidal zones, often seen clinging to rocks, being washed by waves. Ultimately, they rely on water to survive, so they can't be considered fully terrestrial crabs. Given their reliance on water, there's a phenomenon that's a bit strange. For example, when moving from one rock to another, if there's water in between, red rock crabs usually jump across, even if the distance is a bit far. They'll muster all their strength to land directly on the next rock. If the gap is too wide, they'll jump into the water first, then quickly swim across, practically running on the water's surface. The entire movement is smooth and seamless. They don't linger in the water at all. It gives the impression that they are very afraid of water, not wanting to stay in it for even a second longer. This is quite odd. They can withstand rough waves without a problem. So why does being in the water seem like a death sentence? Well, it turns out it can be deadly, because the red rock crabs know their main predators are lurking in the water. One is the moray eel, the other is the octopus. Red rock crabs live on rocks, making them hard targets for ocean predators. Only skilled hunters that can enter the shallows have a chance. The moray eel and octopus are such skilled hunters. They can swim into shallow pools and even climb over rocks between pools. However, their agility on land is far from enough to catch red rock crabs directly, so they hide in rock crevices, camouflaged in the pools, and then wait underwater to ambush the crabs when they come close. For red rock crabs, they can dodge frontal attacks, but not sneak attacks. In general, moray eels tend to target young red rock crabs because their shells aren't as hard, making them a tender meal. The moray eel waits for the right moment to lunge out of the water and attack the crab, although sometimes red rock crabs react quickly and avoid some of the attacks. In many cases, they are still caught off guard, bitten by the moray eel, and dragged into the water to be eaten. Like many other crabs, red rock crabs can use the strategy of autotomy for survival. If necessary, they will sacrifice a leg to escape. After a few molts, the leg will grow back, so it's not a big problem. Compared to moray eels, octopuses are even more challenging to deal with. In the octopus episode, we mentioned these creatures are masters of disguise. When hiding in rocky pools, they are hard to spot. Red rock crabs often step right on top of them, with no time to react. Those 8 tentacles cover them completely, and there's no escape. They're done for. So for red rock crabs, water can be dangerous. That's why they are afraid of it. But the irony is, to fill their bellies, they must frequently be near the water, risking the danger. So, what do red rock crabs eat? They feed on algae growing on rocks, specifically red and green algae, the same as the Galapagos marine iguana. But the iguana is more capable. It dives directly into the ocean to feed on algae growing on the sea rocks, which is quite impressive. The red rock crab, however, has 2 formidable neighbors, the octopus and the moray eel, so it doesn't dare venture into the water. It waits for low tide, when the rocks are exposed to feed, timing it perfectly, so it returns to higher ground before the tide comes in. It's quite similar to the practice of gathering the sea. Given that both feed on algae, one might assume that the iguana and the red rock crab are competitors, but that's not the case. They don't compete. In fact, they are friends. Red rock crabs don't just eat algae. On the Galapagos Islands, they often climb onto marine iguanas, picking through their scales to find food. In the process, they clean off parasites and dead skin. The iguanas welcome this, lying still while the crabs clean them up. Of course, the iguanas are like statues when basking in the sun. They probably wouldn't react if anything climbed on them, but the red rock crabs benefit them, so they have a mutualistic relationship. In addition to their main diet of algae, red rock crabs have a varied diet. Scientists describe them as opportunistic omnivores, which means they eat whatever they can find. For example, they eat barnacles and shellfish. As long as they can open them, they'll eat them. They also consume turtle eggs or bird eggs. Even newly hatched chicks could be targeted by red rock crabs. They also eat dead fish or shrimp that wash ashore. Or carrion. It's said that someone once saw them eating a sea lion's placenta, which is quite bizarre, so they might play a role as scavengers, cleaning up the shoreline. In short, red rock crabs are mainly herbivores, but they also act as predators and scavengers. They are very versatile. Now, some viewers might wonder, since red rock crabs eat whatever they can find, do they practice cannibalism? Let's continue. If there are many red rock crabs on the same rock, and they're close together, you might notice something. They all face the same direction, in perfect unison. Zoologists say it's so they don't see each other's weapons, which are their claws. If they were to face each other, they might start a fight, and the temptation to eat each other would arise. This is no exaggeration. It reflects a major behavior of red rock crabs, cannibalism. By all facing the same direction, the group reaches an unspoken agreement, a promise not to attack each other. They usually gather in groups of crabs that are about the same size. This provides a sense of security. That's how it works. So, along the coast where red rock crabs live, you'll often see this scene. One red rock crab advances, while another retreats. This is the result of them sizing up each other's weapons. The retreating crab instinctively thinks the other is trying to eat it, and if it can't win, it backs off, especially if there's a big size difference. The smaller crab often prefers to take a detour, avoiding getting too close. If there's no way around, it keeps a close eye on the bigger crab, always ready to defend itself. Sometimes it even splashes water at the bigger crab. It's said to have a calming effect, to keep the bigger crab from attacking, though it's unclear if it works. But even through a screen, you can feel the tension. If the bigger crab doesn't back down, it might just be really hungry. So it would make sense for the smaller crab to sacrifice a leg. That could be the last resort. The fear red rock crabs have of each other even affects their mating behavior. When the other crab approaches, they can't be sure of its intentions. Is it interested in just the roe, or the meat as well? No one can say for sure, so they are extremely cautious during mating. The male crab lies on the bottom, with its claws holding the female's back, while the female's claws are pinned against her chest. In this position, neither can attack the other. This gives them a sense of security. Even between mates, there's a lack of trust. It seems that the skills of red rock crabs are largely a result of dealing with their own kind.